Hi everyone, this is Miss Moriarty and I'm here to discuss with us topics 9.1 along with 9.2. And as you can see, we are on our last and final unit of the school year, and we only have about 10 more topics to go within this unit. And so in this lecture video specifically, I'm going to discuss 9.1, which is a discussion on stratospheric ozone depletion, followed by 9.2, which is on reducing ozone depletion. Please make sure as you watch the video, take notes in your note packet, and then answer the questions whenever the video happens to pause. Okay, looking at 9.1 first, stratospheric ozone depletion. Thinking back when we discussed in Unit 4, right, we spent time talking about the layers of the atmosphere. We know that the troposphere is the layer of the atmosphere and where weather occurs, right? That's where it's closest to Earth. And then just above our troposphere, we discussed that that is now the stratosphere. And within the stratosphere is going to be ozone, O3, right? That is our ozone layer. We know that our ozone layer is built in such a way that it can actually help to absorb harmful ultraviolet radiation. And this helps to protect any sort of living organisms on Earth. And so our O3 or ozone is built in such a way that it can absorb UVA, UVB, and UVC ranges of ultraviolet radiation. Without our ozone layer, life on land would not be possible. Right? UVB and UVC is radiation that can cause significant tissue damage to living organisms and potentially penetrate our cells into the nucleus and even mutate our DNA. And so this is something that we need, right? So the human health benefits of protecting the stratospheric ozone layer is to help prevent chances of skin cancer, to prevent cataracts, right, which is damage to our eyes. Um, Obviously, the UVB, UVC, we said can mutate DNA, right, making skin cancer more prevalent, right, and can cause oxidative stress to the eyes, which is going to lead to then that cataracts, which can lead to blindness. So, how is the ozone layer then depleted by human impact? Back when we did our air pollution speed dating, someone within the speed dating should have either been CFCs or HFCs or HCFCs. These are going to be compounds, especially our CFCs, that are going to lead to the thinning of our ozone layer. So CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons, are primarily an anthropogenic substance that causes the breakdown of O3, right? Remember, anthropogenic means human driven. It was once used as refrigerant chemicals and propellants in aerosol containers like hairspray, Febreze. How CFCs go about breaking down ozone is the chlorine found in the CFC compound, when present, attaches to an oxygen atom in our ozone molecule. Remember, that is O3. That is then going to form an additional compound called chlorine monoxide. And you can see that written here. That chlorine monoxide molecule can then react with a free oxygen atom, which then pulls the oxygen from the chlorine monoxide to produce a free chlorine again. So you can see now that chemical reaction taking place here. A single chlorine atom can then catalyze the breakdown of as many as 100,000 ozone molecules until that one chlorine atom finds another and the process is stopped. In this process, the ozone molecules are then no longer available to properly absorb the harmful UV radiation that might wind up penetrating our atmosphere, right, hitting land. And so this can cause further harm to any sort of biological life on land. Now, the ozone layer can also be naturally depleted, but it's naturally depleted by more or less a similar substance. So in the Antarctic, the spring melt is going to form what's called polar stratospheric clouds. These are clouds specifically made up of water and nitric acid, right? Thinking back to our Unit 7 unit, we know nitric acid is HNO3. This can only form in a consistent temperature, right, that is very cold, right, found above our Antarctic. And in the presence of these polar stratospheric clouds, a chlorine nitrate and hydrochloric acid substance is going to react, and it's going to continue to give off chlorine, similar to our CFCs. So notice how it's that same type of element that is now causing a natural breakdown of our ozone molecules, and it kind of follows that same pattern. So now on to 9.2, right? What have we done and what can be done to hopefully help to eliminate this reduction in ozone depletion? The main way to reduce ozone depletion is by eliminating the anthropogenic reason as to why we've seen it deplete. And that comes to a piece of legislation that we need to make sure that we know. And that is known as the Montreal Protocol. This was actually a global agreement that when scientists proposed that our ozone layer was thinning to the point in which, right, may cause biological harm, is when we decided to now phase out the use of chlorofluorocarbons out of any sort of production involving refrigerants and aerosols. They were replaced with an alternative substance known as HCFCs. HCFCs, unfortunately, still have the potential to deplete ozone and act as a greenhouse gas, but to a lesser degree as are CFCs. So it's not necessarily a permanent solution. It was more so a temporary one, right? The phase out in developed nations happened after about 2020. Developing nations have until about 2030 to continue to, right, phase these substances out. An additional replacement for HCFCs was HFCs. Once again, still a very strong greenhouse gas, but not ozone depleting since it does not contain any sort of chlorine. Replacements for any HFCs are now known as HFOs, right? So just the HFCs with a carbon-carbon double bond that are going to shorten its lifetime in the atmosphere, right? Making it not quite as strong of, let's say, a greenhouse gas in comparison to CFCs, HCFCs, and HFCs. Right, so overall, before I move on from this slide, remember how we reduce ozone depletion, right, is by eliminating, right, or try to find alternatives to our CFCs. And we did that very successfully, right? The Montreal Protocol is one of the most successful pieces of global legislation that ever went into play. But know that each of these are actually still a greenhouse gas. And so maybe we have kind of more or less solved our ozone depletion issue, but, still looking towards, unfortunately, more climate change. So here we now arrived at our practice FRQ for 9.1 and 9.2. So I would take a moment, right? Video will pause. I recommend writing your answer in your practice FRQ piece in your note packet, as well as typing it into your Edpuzzle. All right, at this point, you should have answered our practice FRQ, explain how chemicals such as CFCs break down stratospheric ozone, and describe the purpose of the Montreal Protocol. So here looking to A, right? Notice the key piece here is mentioning chlorine, right? A lone chlorine atom attaches to ozone and it pulls an oxygen away, making chlorine monoxide, as well as oxygen gas. A free oxygen atom can then react with chlorine monoxide, pulls that oxygen away to create now a free chlorine atom and then oxygen gas, but that chlorine atom can then unfortunately begin that process all over again. Looking to B, the Montreal Protocol, we said, was a global agreement to protect our stratospheric ozone layer by phasing out the production of our ozone-depleting substances such as chlorofluorocarbons or CFCs. All right, everyone, that's it for our video on 9.1 and 9.2. Right? If you happen to have any questions for me when we come back to class after spring break, please leave them at the end. Thank you.